So with the open chain or open kinetic chain exercise in the lower body, I decided to go with a knee extension. Now, granted, I don't have a knee extension machine or leg extension machine here in my garage, so I've decided to work with a change in load to demonstrate a progression and regression. We're going to start off with the standard knee extension or leg extension, which is basically kind of trying to get some support right underneath the kneecap, I guess underneath the insertion point of the hamstrings behind the knee. And we want to make sure that we're getting full extension in the knee. And you notice my foot is hovering off the ground, it's not on the ground. So we're just going to extend up, toes straight, and come back down. Up, toes straight, come back down. Obviously the easy regression will be to remove the load. Some people might benefit from having a very, very light load or no load, just to even basically get some more movement through the range of motion. Some people have problems getting into extension. You can use this exercise as a warm-up to get the synovial fluid going. But by decreasing the load, we're changing, not necessarily we're changing the body center of mass, but because the vast majority of the body is out of the picture, we're changing the legs center of mass, center of gravity. So instead of there being a ton of weight here in relation, we're only getting a little bit of distal weight with the foot and the shoe. So the same exercise, we're just going through that range of motion, focusing on keeping that leg straight at the top of the movement, but also not compromising with the upper body. You'll see people as they come up with a heavier weight, they'll almost do a crunch or lean into it to bear down. To progress from the weighted, with the ankle weights, I'm going to use a band. And so with the band, it isn't a prescribed weight because the band tension is going to change at different arcs of the range of motion. So instead of just dealing with a line of gravity that's straight down, especially at the end of that range of motion, because of the band tension, we're actually changing the line of gravity relative to the load. So the line is actually trying to pull the leg backwards instead of just straight down. The other thing about the band tension is that there is more onus on the exerciser to keep the leg controlled all the way down. Very easy on that band to just let it pull you back to start. Alright, so for an open kinetic chain exercise for the upper body, I'm choosing the overhead press and some variations within it. So the standard is overhead press, hands in a comfortable position depending on your range of motion and goal. And we're using no leg intervention, we're just pressing up, overhead into stable overhead position, back down, up, down. Now, some people might not have range of motion in the joints, especially in the shoulders, due to muscle imbalances, tight pec minor, tight lats, traps firing like crazy, whatever the case is. So going overhead might not be an option. Some people might have just an asymmetry left and right. Let's say their right arm goes into position 100%, bar behind the ears, over the neck. The left arm maybe comes almost there but not in position. Now, in a barbell position with that sort of discrepancy, you're going to get this weird sort of torque and a dysregularity in movement, which we don't really want to see in clients that's practicing bad behaviors, and it's really hard to adjust with a heavier loaded barbell. You can bring the weight down, you can use a dumbbell, and you can use just a single arm standing or seated shoulder press. And this way we can kind of work on the single arm activity. It's the exact same sort of position, even in fact, you can probably get a little bit closer to the head with the bicep and the arm in a single arm movement. And you can also work on concentration of kinesthetic awareness per arm. So if that left arm is lagging, we can kind of do reps, concentrate on what's going on, and see if maybe it isn't just a range of motion, but it's also a cueing and a kinesthetic awareness thing where they don't know where overhead position is in that left arm. Now, to make it a little bit harder to progress from a overhead press, yeah, you can up the weight. Obviously, you're going to make it harder. You can up the intensity of the reps. But I'm going to change the exercise a little bit more. Now, the next logical step would be a push press, which is going to get a little bit in the legs. But it doesn't really do too much in terms of making it harder. Yeah, there's more coordination, but you can lift more weight. If we actually go into a push jerk or a quarter squat jerk, now we're getting into territory of making that exercise harder because of coordination and a violent change in the center of gravity or center of mass. As the weight goes up, you're dropping or pulling your body underneath, so when your arms extended, lock out where that bar is. So I'll show you the push jerk or the quarter or half squat jerk. So you'll see almost, if you're watching like the Ghostbusters logo on my chest, you'll see that drop as the weight's coming up. I'm not sure exactly where the center of gravity would be, but at least in terms of bodily center of gravity, that's having to drop to accommodate for the weight going up. So we're talking closed kinetic chain for the lower body. I decided to go with the trusty squat. So just a basic back squat. Not much to it. We want to make sure that we're applying tension to the bar. We're dropping into the bottom of the squat, wherever that may be for the individual, and coming back up. Now, to make this a little bit easier to regress it, we can change the range of motion. So what that means is we can use something like this bench or a box or some other target, a medicine ball up on a couple of risers, whatever you need to use, to shorten the range of motion so we're not going all the way down and having that knee joint close, hamstring on calf. We're going to a position that for clients might be one that's safe for their joints, a range of motion that does not incite any pain or discomfort. Or we can work on a range of motion or a spot that you need help on. So meaning you can work on a sticking point. And so you go down in your squat, you're coming back up, and you get stuck in that thigh just above 90 degrees or parallel position. We can practice that range of motion. And so, we're not really changing much in terms of, we're not changing your base of support or the center of gravity, but we are changing how much you're moving your center of gravity and where and how long down that line of gravity you're moving. So you're just going until you touch the surface, you pause, you come back up. You want to make sure we're not swaying, we're not resting on the surface, and then using forward momentum to pull us out of position onto our toes on the way up. And the last one, to progress the squats, we're going to move it into a single leg, I guess you want to call it a single leg, but it's a split squat. So we're changing the base of support and we're kind of keeping the feet in the same position, we're just offsetting them into, like, I guess, a lunge length. Now, even though if you did the math, the base of support might be pretty close, maybe a little bit bigger on the split squat, it'd be interesting to actually see what that trapezoid versus rectangle would be. It demands a lot more attention to tension in the body to actually move through that range of motion. Okay, so realistically, now again, we're not really changing the line of gravity, but we're changing kind of the center of gravity, the starting point and the ending point. And in fact, the bottom of the center of gravity's motion in the split squat might be pretty similar to that of the full squat due to the deep bend in the hip and the closure of the hip and knee joints. So again, squat position, stepping forward, stepping back on the toe, dropping straight down, closing the joints, and straight up. Alright, so we're going to work on the closed kinetic chain for the upper body, and I chose the push-up. So standard push-up, pretty basic. Chest hits the floor, shoulder blades staying tight to the rib cage, control the core, a nice stable structure all the way down, and back up again, making sure that the elbows aren't twisting and turning in a wonky position, and thus unloading the shoulder. So to make this a regression, to make it easier, the next step down, I would say, would be you could either elevate the hands, which would change the center of gravity, put it more towards the toe and less away from the chest and the arms, or you can widen your base. And the easiest way and the most effective way to do that is by widening the feet. So it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to widen my legs. So we have, typically the feet, if you're in your push-up position, the feet are going to be between your hands. The wide leg position, the toes are going to be way wider than your base of support with your hands. So wide legs. Degree of difficulty should be much less. Now the next thing you can do is put your feet up on a raised surface to do a push-up. Again, just like the idea of a regression, in increasing the degree of angle with your hands, by increasing where your feet are compared to your hands, it's going to shift the center of gravity, your center of mass, towards your chest and hands to make it a little bit harder.